G'day everybody and welcome to another Tune Under podcast, Australia or the Southern Hemisphere's biggest and best or Newcastle United podcast. Craig, me and you tonight, mate. How are you in the sugar capital of Australia?
Well, it's the dream team tonight, and the dream team is going to do this review. It's proper justice because Miguel Almiron is a man on fire right now.
I reckon the dream team's right. I think me and you are the only ones who stopped up from the start of the game to the end. So we could be dreaming by the end of recording.
We could very well.
so if things go a bit quiet, we're not buffering or your internet hasn't dropped out. We've actually probably fallen asleep. So, yeah, what did you think of the game, mate?
It was literally a game of two halves, wasn't it? First half, we were dominant, we were controlling. Got that all-important goal, which meant they had to come in and attack if they wanted to get anything from the game. Second half, we let them play their stuff. And I think, to be honest, we kind of knew that they would have nothing in attack. They were woeful. And we tried to get them on the counter for the odd couple of times. Nothing really came of it in the second half. And it just fizzled out. But, you know, if we've got to win ugly, we've got to win ugly. More than happy with it.
Yeah, I don't think... Yeah, it's sort of hard. Look, I don't think we played well, but look, winning ugly, I think sometimes winning ugly is some of the stuff we did under Rafa and Steve Bruce to me. Like winning ugly is just backs against the wall, throwing your body at every shot, last ditch defending and stuff like that. I thought we just did what we had to do. Like we just dealt with them and stuff like that. Like we didn't need to be exuberant and sloppy and really take the game on. Like we had the goal, and I think especially with what had happened at Old Trafford, I reckon that was a bit of a taxing game. Like the last 15, 20 minutes, we were cooked, I reckon. So I reckon we managed the game really, really well off a short turnaround. I think Everton had an extra day's break as well, which it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're dealing with 3 days and 4 days, it does make a little bit of a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, may as well jump into the lineups. We'll just bring it up now. We'll start with our team first. What did you make of it when you seen the lineups this morning?
I didn't think we'd go for the same lineup. I thought there'd be one or two changes, given the amount of games that we've got in a short space of time. I'd have thought they'll get some of the more important players, the likes of Trippier, maybe the likes of Bruno for the Spurs game. But this was a game that was 100% winnable. So maybe they'll throw everything at it, throw caution to the wind, get the 3 points here, and then maybe rest of some for Spurs. But yeah, I did expect one or two changes. I thought maybe Anderson would have started for Murphy. And I thought maybe Wood had a chance to start as well. But he came on in the later minutes, as we'll get to eventually.
Yeah, we did talk about that in our group chat, didn't we? With Wilson and Wood, like, given our attacking injuries, I guess, we needed to, like, was it a case of, do we need to protect Wilson a little bit more given his injury history and our lack of depth, I guess, in that area? But, you know, what do we know? We're on the other side of the world. And I've said this 100 times. I'll trust the people that see these guys 6 or 7 times a week rather than what we think. But I agree. I thought there would be a couple of changes, maybe like a Longstaff for Willock or something like that, just a bit of freshness in the midfield just to keep the speed in the game and stuff like that. But, I mean, he's shown us countless times during the year we all thought there was going to be changes to the starting 11, and he's just backed the 11 in who done the job the week before. And given our form, I mean, you can't really blame him, can you?
No, absolutely not. It's just, I mean, Eddie is the king of our castle right now, and I trust his opinion more than I trust anybody else's. And that starting 11, apart from Shelby maybe coming back into the fray once he's fully fit, is probably the best we've got available besides Maxi.
Yeah, it's interesting about Shelby. Last week he said before the press conference last week, or the Man United press conference, that he was just back into full. He's either just back into full training, or he like that day was going to be his first sort of session of full training, and then he was on the bench, and I'm like, oh, wow, which is he telling a bit of a porky pie there, or? But I thought, well, what other midfielders do we have?
There's nothing. I mean, if you
Yeah,
look there, Willock, who he has his up and down moments in games. Willock, he really does. Shelby, when Bruno, Big Joe, and Shelby have played consistently over a few games, they're a very solid unit in midfield, and that is probably our best three in midfield. I mean, Willock and Longstaff have done great in his absence for Shelby, but I just think, and I never thought I'd actually say this, Shelby is the better of the three, whether it's his experience, his knowledge of the game, or whatever. But we have missed him. But the fact that he's back now, and I think this is what he was trying to quote on just before, Eddie turned around and said he's on the bench, but he would only ever be used in an absolute emergency situation. So if the likes of Willock and Longstaff or Bruno, Joe, they got injured and couldn't continue, and he was the only one available, then he would hire him on. I still don't even think that's worth a risk, because if he's not 100%, you've then got a massive setback again. He's already, what was it, early August he got injured?
well,
Something like it.
were they in Germany? Or was
Yeah,
it before
I think it was the Benfica game. He went off
Yeah,
injured. I think that was the last game overseas before we had the few little mini back-to-back games at St James's.
yeah,
But yeah, got injured. So say late July, early August, he's been missing for. But I don't know. There was just something about it. Why you would risk a player who's been out for 4 or 5 months or whatever to come on, play 20 minutes, get injured again, and have another massive setback, especially considering we've just had Isak and Maxi have an injury setback as well. A bit of a strange one, but again, in Eddie we trust.
question without notice, because I haven't thought about it. Who is available but not in the matchday squad? Is there anyone?
You've got Dummett, he's available.
Yeah.
Mankio. I know Richie's injured right now. I don't know when he's back. I don't know if it's a long-term injury or what, but he
Yeah.
is normally hovering there or thereabouts.
So he's injured. Isak and ASM are injured.
Yeah.
So there's 5. So there's not many left of that sort of squad. Like maybe it's just a case of they need Shelby on the bench to fill the bench spots. Maybe that's all it is.
Yeah, it could be. I mean,
Yeah, just for the first few games anyway, until he actually gets at least a couple of weeks of full training under his belt, we might see him for like a 10-minute. But yeah, I'm still not sure that we'll see him before the World Cup. But yeah, who knows?
Could get a run out in the Palace Cup game in a few weeks.
Ah, yes, I forgot about that one.
Could be
Yeah,
a good.
he might
one
get a
for him
half
to
in
ease
there.
back into. Yeah.
Can we still get?
Yeah, we'll
we
see
still
what
have
happens
5
over the next
subs in
week,
there,
too.
don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. I could definitely see him getting at least a half there if he's sort of through his training and stuff like that. All right, we'll move over to the visitors. So we'll go through it. We've got T-Rex, Coleman, Cody, Tarkovsky, Milianenko, Onoa, Iwobi, Garner, Calvert-Lewin, Gray, and Gordon. Going through some of the sort of Everton comments when they released their starting 11, most of them think that's their best 11.
Then you'd be very worried, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's easy to say that an hour before the game, but then you look at it in hindsight after the game and same thing. You're like, wow, if that's your best and you had one shot in 90 minutes with your best 11,
they didn't have a single shot on target against Spurs in their previous game either. So
yeah.
that's 180 minutes without a single shot on target. And I was surprised Calvert-Lewin got a start, because he only made a 40-minute appearance against Spurs after again having a long-term absence. So that was a strange run. But, he's their most potent striker, and his record against us is stupidly good. So you can understand why Lampard threw him in, I suppose.
Yeah. Was he sort of the only one you were worried about when you seen their lineup?
Well, Iwobi, he's been playing very well this season. He's got 4 assists so far for Everton. I don't think he's scored yet, but he very good link-up play with Gray and Gordon. But yeah, he's very dangerous. He's the one that caused us havoc back at Goodison Park when that stupid lad chained himself to the goal post. He got
I've
the
got.
assist for that one and left Dan Burn for dust. So he's a good little player, Iwobi, but again, we kept him quiet along with pretty much everybody else in that team.
He ended up in jail, that guy, didn't he?
He got arrested. I don't know whether he's went to jail or he got cautioned
I
or
reckon
whatever.
he ended up in jail. Like maybe within the last couple of months, I reckon I read it. But I reckon a fair punishment. They should have just left him there and everyone could come and have a free crack at him while he's handcuffed himself to the post.
Just put Jacob Murphy on and tell him to take shots. He's going to hit the post every time.
Yeah, I was going to say he'd probably miss. I shouldn't
Probably.
say that. He's been all right the last couple of weeks. So we'll get into the game now. First half, I thought it was the first half of the first half was a real stop-start affair. I thought they were pretty physical, tried to disrupt the game and disrupt our momentum, and the game was very sort of stop-start. We couldn't really get any flow and movement because it was just foul, stop, whatever. How did you see it?
Yeah, it was very scrappy opening 10, 50 minutes. I think we exchanged a few comments on the WhatsApp group about it being scrappy. No one be able to put any real passage of play together. And Everton, they were just falling over for everything that they could possibly claim, kicking the ball out for throw-ins, just generally wasting time. I don't think they came to play for a point. They would have gladly taken for a point because they were attacking and they would have known how dangerous we are on the attack. They did try and get forward. We tried to get forward, but the passage of play just wasn't there. Bruno had a few sloppy passes, which is very unlike Bruno. Botman, he had one or two misplaced passes as well. So whether it's fatigue, whether it was the occasion, whether it was just a case of we maybe took them a little bit later than what we initially thought, who knows? Based off the previous last performance of winning 4-1 and 5-1, I thought maybe a bit of a walk in the park, but definitely wasn't. Not for the opening 30 minutes anyway.
No, I was the same. I thought Big Joe was pretty sloppy with the ball, and I didn't think he had his best half. And same as Longstaff. I thought Longstaff got caught on the ball a bit and a few misplaced passes. But like you said, I think it was everyone. Like we didn't. I think it was just it was a really shitty sort of 25 minutes to open the game up, and that probably continued after half time. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later on. But we'll get to the 31-minute mark. Newcastle break down the right. Trippier swings a ball in across the box to Murphy, who heads it down. Wilson sort of gets in a tangle and it sort of half-chested to Joelinton, who passes back to Bruno and lays it off to Miguel Almiron, who puts, I was going to say an unstoppable shot, but I've watched it a few times and I think it's a very, very stoppable shot. I mean, if your arms weren't 100 millimeters each, I mean, really, at the end of the day, he's kicked it from just outside the box and the ball's actually landed in the bottom half of the net. So it's not like he's put it in the top corner. So he's basically nearly been lobbed from the edge of the box. Like normal keepers with normal wingspans don't sort of have that happen to them, do they? But I'll hand it over to you. You've been bloody banging Miggy's drum since preseason. You've been on him all year. Take it away. What did you think?
This finish was sensational because first touch, which was absolutely critical as well. I think if he takes a touch, the defense has then got time to come out, close him down, and he doesn't get the shot away. But the fact it was a first touch shot, curled up and over Little Arms as well. So on the replays, you can see him, he's at full stretch. But he's that full stretch after the ball's already gone past him and over him. And I think Miggy knew he scored the second it left his boot anyway. It was just that clinical of a hit. And there's nothing better than getting one past him, just because of his association with you know who. They will not be mentioned. But yeah, it was a cracking hit. And Miggy thoroughly deserves this, purely because of what he done in pre-season. He ran the show in pre-season, 8 goals in 6 pre-season games, I think it was.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely up there. He's definitely the top scorer of pre-season. He's now the top scorer in the Premier League for us, which guarantee you when we started against Nottingham Forest, nobody would be saying that 11 games in. Definitely not. But what?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think, like, there was calls. I think everyone, the whole fans, was sort of really hoping for a winger, for a right winger to get brought during the transfer window, and they didn't. And look what they've sort of backed him in, and like he's paid dividends. Like you said, that's his 5th goal now, so he's our leading top scorer, and he's actually scored more goals than Salah, Ronaldo, Richarlison, De Bruyne, and Aubameyang combined this year. So that
combined.
So that's the form he's in at the moment. So we could have spent Diaby, what, 60 million on Diaby. I don't think
easy.
Diaby would have given us them numbers. What he's
not
given us at the moment. No. And some of his goals have been crucial to our results. And might not have been winning goals, but they've been goals that have sort of kick-started us and stuff like that. So they've been really, really important. It's just, do you think that he's now, this is Miguel Almiron? Is this him now, or is he just in a rich vein of form and he's just in a purple patch at the moment, or is this him?
I don't think it's a coincidence, purely because we're seeing this type of revival with Joelinton last season under Eddie, and we all said towards the end of the back end of last season, maybe give him a pre-season with Eddie, see what Eddie can do with him, get him a bit of confidence in him. And Eddie has said he's a player that thrives on confidence, and that's clearly shown. He's passing it around. He's still the reluctance to use his right foot at any opportunity. That's the thing that he still needs to improve his game.
I don't know if it's reluctance. I think it's flat out refusal. I don't think he's. there was times, and it's happened all year, where he's overlapped for Kieran Trippier, and instead of just whipping one in, he's actually had to stop and go back to Trippier because he can't cross on his right foot.
I don't know about this. They could do a little bit of work in training just to try and get that right foot that little bit better in terms of passing. I don't see how that can not be possible. An extra hour after training, whatever, just on his own, do what he needs to do. Because if he can get that right foot better than what it currently is now, then we've got that option to get the ball in that little bit earlier. You can get that cross in on a Chris Wood or Callum Wilson's head, and then we've got more options for goals. But in terms of where he is at now, he's in the best form of his life. In terms of his Newcastle career, he's already equaled his previous seasons. Total of 4, and he's now got 5. And we are 11 games in. I can't remember he's played all 11 games. Not too sure on that one. But he's definitely surpassed any previous season record, that's for sure. In a game, thoroughly deserved.
Yeah, I think so too. And do you think that he's always had this in him, but he just hasn't had the coaching to bring it out? I mean, I think Rafa played more of a defensive style, and I think a lot of his work and coaching would have been more based on his positioning defensively, and because he obviously had an undervalued squad and couldn't invest like Eddie's been able to invest and stuff like that. So, like I said earlier, we used to kick and fight and scrap for everything under Rafa, and nothing was easy. Nothing was easy. Everything was. We never could put our feet up and go, "Geez, that was a good game," and enjoy it. Like everything was a shit fight, and we, like I said, we earned everything we got. But now, seems like he's been really coach. He's always had that defensive. Like no one's ever questioned his work rate or his work ethic or his commitment to defend ever. Everyone said that. The whole knock on him's always been his finished product and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, like a massive credit should go to Eddie and his coaching staff for getting that out of him and coaching him and things like that and getting him to where he is now. Because like I said, he's always had that desire and work ethic and stuff like that, but they've coached and added this attacking side to his game, and like what a player he's been this year for it.
The one thing I've noticed over the last few games as well, with Bruno coming back in, is the little triangles of play between Miggy, Bruno, and Trips. The little triangles they put together are just fantastic. And they can alienate a few of the opposition, which then lets Miggy get in behind the opposition, whilst Bruno can do his through balls, his little chip passes, just like what we're seeing against Fulham with his volley goal on that one. And again, it was, if I remember correctly, in the goal this morning, it was Trips who crossed it in. Murphy then headed it back. It got to Bruno, then Bruno on. So again, those three players involved in Miggy's goal. So
yeah,
the little package them three are putting together is invaluable to not just scoring goals, but to winning games now. And it is superb. There was a little bit of bromance between Big Joe and Bruno last season. I think it's a similar type of thing between Miggy and Bruno right now.
Yes, absolutely. Do you think, just on that, you brought up an interesting point, are we over reliant on our right hand side now? Like we don't get much from our left with Dan Burn and Jacob Murphy, do we?
No. Jacob Murphy, I have been very critical of. I know a lot of people have been very critical of. He has improved his game over the past few games or so. Maybe he's one of these players that need to be playing consistently to be performing well, rather than being a fringe player. But if Maxey's fit, Maxey starts ahead of Jacob Murphy every single time.
Yeah.
And that's when the left is going to be that little bit more dominant. I think they're more there in terms of a defensive partnership on the left and maybe a little bit of attacking if they absolutely have to. But yeah, I'd imagine what our passage of play would have been, apart from wing to wing in terms of percentage, got to be close to 70% on the right-hand side.
Yeah, the heat map would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It really would, yeah. See where the
Yeah.
passages of play were.
Do you think in January that left wing spot is something we're probably going to look to try and buy a player for?
If Maxey is still injured, yes, I do. It's something that needs to be addressed because at first, at the start of the season, it was the right-hand side.
Yeah.
But we've now got Miggy 2.0. And the left is becoming a bit of a worry. Yes, we've got Anderson, but he's still learning his craft and will be for another year, 2, maybe 3, before he's going to be anywhere close to the finished article. So, yeah, it is something that needs to be improved. Will we shift one or two on? Because even Ryan Fraser, when he plays out on the left, he doesn't really offer that much, even though he got 7 shades of shit kicked out of him in the 10 minutes or whatever he was on today. He is not really adding that extra quality and flair to the team that we need when Maxey is out.
Just on Ryan Fraser, and you are 100% right. He got the absolutely suitcases kicked out of him for the short amount of time he was on. But I want to give him his flowers. He got 4 free kicks in putting himself, and he's a master of drawing free kicks.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got a 1-0 lead with 5 or 10 minutes to go, you just need to sort of slow the game down, get it on your terms. Nothing crazy, nothing basketball end to end. That's the last thing we want to do, is to get sort of pulled and out of shape and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a sort of an underrated thing that doesn't get talked about. It'll get talked about what about Ryan Fraser coming on and getting the shit kicked out of him for 10 minutes? Like that's sort of the conversation. But if you look a little bit deeper, them free kicks helped us a lot just to ice the game out and stuff like that. So Ryan, if you're listening, fantastic job, mate. I know you're a big fan, so good on you. Now, after the goal, that 15 minutes before half time, we were scintillating. That's as good as we've played nearly all year without scoring, I reckon. Some of the build-up play and the passing and the movement, the speed at which we attacked, that it was first class. And honestly, we probably should have scored another 2 or 3 before half-time. Like Bruno missed a couple that a player of his quality probably should have finished. Someone else had another one. I can't remember who it was. But what did you think about that sort of little period after Miggy's goal between that goal and half-time?
The beauty I like about that is it shows that we go for the kill instantly.
Yeah.
We've effectively wounded the prey. Now we're going for the kill. And rather than going, yep, we've scored, let's sit back and absorb whatever pressure is going to come our way, like we've done under previous management, we are literally going straight for the jugular, and we are going to try and squeeze every last little bit of oxygen out of our opponent and make them surrender. And it's such a breath of fresh air to see, because, again, we've just sat back so many times once we went 1-0 up. And actually being surprised that we went 1-0 up, because we've had one shot on target when they've had like 35. Typical Bruce Ball, if you want to call it that. But yeah, the type of play that we'd done in that 15 minutes, it was up there with Arsenal end of last game.
Yeah.
The passages of play were just superb.
I think that one that Bruno had sort of backheeled and then ran onto it, that would have been goal of the season. I know you have already think Miggy's got goal of the year wrapped up, but that would have been a serious contender to knock him off, I reckon.
Team goal of the year without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
If that's the thing.
Yeah, well, why not? We can make it a thing. Now, just before, I just want to get your thoughts. I don't normally like to get people all fizzed up, but it's good to vent, and this can be your safe space. Just before halftime, there was a bit of an incident between Dan Burn and Anthony Gordon, and he went down like a $2 hooker. What were your thoughts there?
Well, I've said this quite a few times. I've nicknamed him Ellen DeGeneres purely because he looks like it. He really does.
I thought he looked like Joe Root, not Ellen DeGeneres.
He's a cross between Joe Root and Ellen. Then love child.
If they had an illegitimate son, it's going to be Anthony Gordon.
Honestly, that bloke, he does want a Premier League medal. He wants a gold medal in the Olympic diving. He really does. I can't believe Frank Lampard said it should have been a penalty. There was less contact.
Did he?
Yeah. Frank Lampard came out on TV afterwards and said, it was a penalty. There was enough contact to warrant a penalty. I've seen less contact at a strip club. It's just
and you pay $50 for
it. But genuinely, his performance was so bad today. He played like Jack Grealish. And genuinely, how Chelsea were going to pay 50 million for him after that performance, I think, yeah, take it, because I wouldn't give you 50p for him right now.
They'd be mad. Look, they look mad for not taking that now.
Yeah, batshit crazy 50 million for him. He's like the English version of Fernandes for Man United. He loves a proper good whinge as well, doesn't he? Every single time. I mean, I wanted Cher to smash him in the face just before half time. When he had the go trips and then Shaw came over and he started pushing him at his wanted, Shaw to just whack him one. Knock his teeth down his throat.
If it was the 80th minute and we're 3-0 up and he landed one on his chin, it would be the most celebrated red card in the history of Newcastle United, I reckon. Like everyone, he'd get a standing O when he walked off, and he'd probably do a lap instead of just walking straight down the tunnel. He'd do a lap and just take on all four sides and say, "Thank you very much." What I couldn't understand about the whole thing, like if there was a contact rating out of 10, it'd be 2 at an absolute stretch. So if it's not a penalty, which it clearly wasn't a penalty, like ridiculous. So why wasn't he given a yellow card then?
Gordon was given a yellow card.
Yeah, but he wasn't given a yellow card for diving. He was given a yellow card for the handbags with Shah after.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I thought it was for simulation, the yellow card.
No,
right.
no. They both got that for, I don't know what it was, not rough conduct because there was no rough conduct. Oh, there was the pushing and stuff like that. So they both got a yellow card for that. Like I was flabbergasted as soon as the decision wasn't made, which was the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
I thought straight away it's yellow card. Like that's as clear as simulation. So if it's not a penalty,
Mm-hmm.
it's a yellow card. Like it wasn't a tackle where you say, yeah, look, it was a fair tackle. It's not a penalty, but you didn't dive. It was just a fair challenge. So look, like I said, it was a very soft 2 out of 10 contact, and he went down like with the $2 hooker, and it's a yellow card. Like if you want him to stop doing it, you actually have to give him a disincentive to stop doing it.
Well, James Maddison, he got booked weekend just gone for simulation in the box in the Palace game, and it's absolutely the right thing to do. Book them, name them, shame them, do whatever you have to do because it's the one part of the game that nobody wants to see. Our players are guilty of it just as much as what Gordon is. I know Almiron's been booked a few times to diving in the past. ASM was booked against Brighton this season. I think there was for simulation when you had that chance to shoot on the edge of the box. So no one's got the perfect team that doesn't dive, but he does it more than most. And if anything, it's just going to ruin his reputation because he's now an England international or borderline England international, I think. And if he's doing stuff like that, there's no way Southgate's going to pick him for the World Cup or any future tournaments or anything like that.
It kind of reminded me of Sancho against Man United with that incident with Longstaff. It was probably a penalty, but when you act up and play it up as much as you do, you don't know how much contact is actually genuine contact. And so the contact might have been a 3 out of 10, but the way you dive and roll around and make it look like a 10, then you can't be certain how much have you actually put on this. Like you can't, and it's a really sort of shit thing to say probably, but you can't reward things like that. You actually want to get it out of the game. And if he had to give him a slice of cheese for that dive, he wouldn't have done it for the rest of the game. And then the little handbags with Trippier and Shah, and then everyone sort of comes over pushing and shoving. That doesn't happen either because the incident's over. Like, it's just annoying that the referee just can't make that easy. It's an easy decision. And then you take out that whole, I guess, threat of it happening for the rest of the game because he's not going to do it again and get sent off for diving twice.
Yeah.
Look, he looks dumb, but I don't think he's that dumb. Happy to be wrong, but I don't think he is.
You'd hope not anyway. You'd really would. Because again, it's something that needs to be stamped out of the game and quick. But it's how you approach it. But I think a yellow card, put it on the big screen if the stadium's got them, name them, shame them, do whatever, and make sure it comes up on there, the big screens, book for simulation, diving, do whatever. Don't call it simulation, call it cheating for fuck's sake.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you're cheating. Simple as. You're trying to get something that you're not entitled to. It's just, it's wrong. It needs to be stamped out. But going back to the original point, I still wish I had knocked him out.
Yeah. Not 1-0 at half time. Maybe, like I said, 3-0, 80 minutes.
Yes.
Swing from the fences, mate. So then we sort of rolled in at half time, and then interesting start at the second half when Joe Willock come on for Joelinton. Now, like I said, I don't think he had his best game by any stretch of the imagination in the first half, and he picked up a yellow card himself. I think he was sort of looking at their challenges. I think some of their challenges were a bit ripe and thought, well, he's going to cop it. If he's want to give it out, then he's going to cop it back as well, I think. But so I wasn't sure if he was hooked for the threat of a red card, because the last thing we needed was a 1-0 lead and 10 men. And things start, like with that incident with Gordon and stuff, things started getting a little bit spicy just before halftime. But we found out later on that he had a bit of a knock, and that's why he couldn't continue. But I thought it was interesting. Like I said, I didn't think he had his best game, but I thought we struggled in the midfield and went off in the second half.
Definitely. It's that's where we're a little bit late when Longstaff and Willock are in the middle. Bruno can't get us forward as much. He has to track back. There was plenty of time in that second half where I seen him having to come back to the halfway line or past to collect the ball, that's not where you want Bruno. You want him in the final third. That's where he is at his most dangerous, and that kind of nullified our attack, and it just fizzled out as the second half went on. They grew in confidence, but literally the second they crossed the halfway line, they just felt the shit because they had nothing in attack going forward. And I think we kind of got lucky in that side of things. A more dangerous, potent team maybe would have found some cracks in that and got a few shots on target, maybe tested Pope a bit, and maybe found the back of the net.
But it's just interesting. I think that when someone is not having a good game and goes off, and then you really miss him when he goes off. It's just a funny sort of dynamic how it works. But I think and I've said this before, and John Joe Shelby, that's where we miss him the most. Not so much for what he can do, but it's more about him being able to play that role and release Bruno to play further forward where he can really sort of cause havoc in the opposition half and be the handful we know he can be. But, the second half, it was a really stop-start. Nothing really happened. I mean, it was a bit of a fizzed out second half, and I think we managed the game. Probably we did what we had to do. We had our goal. Our pressing, I don't think our pressing was manic as what it has been in the past. Now, whether that was a bit of fatigue from the Man United game or, look, we've got our goal. We don't need to we've got another game in 4 days as well. We don't need to really press and go mental and just burn all our tickets trying to get a second goal.
Yeah, I think there was maybe a little bit of a conserving energy within the last half an hour or so, which you don't blame them. Because again, they offered nothing on an attacking basis. So we could let them come at us and we would just mop up everything they threw at us, not a problem. And yeah, conserving energy is a good thing because I think it was last season, again, we played Everton away. We had 4 games in 11 days with 2 of them down on the South Coast, 3 of them away. And we were burnt out after that period of time. And it didn't help us at all. So maybe that was on the back of Eddie's mind. Didn't want to get burnt out because going down to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is probably one of the toughest gigs in world football right now in terms of domestic leagues. As I think you got to mention how good they have been at home lately. So we need to have our players 100% good to go for that game because it will be a tough gig. And there's hoping sort of repeat of last year down there.
Yeah, I'd love to see. Well, no one will ever get this information, but I'd love to see the players' GPS numbers from the game against Everton compared to the Man City game, and just see the distance covered, the intensity of what they played at, and stuff like that. That's going to play a massive role in. I think that does play a massive role in his selection, and they sort of use that data to work out and speak to the players as well. Obviously, get their feelings and stuff like that, but they really, in this day and age, use that kind of data to analyse the players and where they think their fitness levels and performance levels are at, and stuff like that, and how do they manage them, especially in a condensed week like this, like 3 games in a week. They manage their loads during the week, like training and recovery, and that's how they all work it out now, is off that. So it'd be really, really interesting to see that comparison between the 2 games, because I reckon last night's one wouldn't be holding a candle to the Man City game we played at home earlier in the year.
No way.
But like you said, I think we've seen the game out well. We managed it really, really well with no threat, really. I mean, they've come and had 1 shot for the whole game and it wasn't on target. So I think our defence was fantastic. It's our 5th clean sheet of the year. We've only conceded 2 goals in our last 4 games. One was a dubious penalty, you could argue, and one was when we pretty much changed our whole back 4 against Fulham for the last 10 minutes, and they sort of got one in as well. So, Craig, why is our defence so good?
Well, it's a completely different defence as opposed to last season, but this stage of last season. There's no Kieran Clark. As much as I like what Kieran Clark done for us, he was over the hill at the time. And we have genuine leaders across that defensive line now. Trippier is a born natural leader, hence why he's got the captain's armband. Pope commands the defence quite well. He's very vocal. Shaw, considering we only paid $3.5 million, I think it was for Shaw, he was on his way out of the club at the back end of last season. We give him the extension. He signed it. And that's probably one of the best bit of businesses we've done in the summer, keeping him, because he's been phenomenal. And just how fucking good is Sven Botman? Genuinely, I cannot express how happy I am that we've got a defender of his caliber in Newcastle United. He's 22 years old. He's been
22.
playing in the squad
22.
like he's been there since day one. And he's played 9 of the 11 games. He's yet to get a booking, which for a centre back after 9 games is very, very good, considering Shaw's on 4 and almost due for a suspension. And he's only given away 4 free kicks in 9 games, and he's played 90 minutes of all of those 9 games as well. 4 free kicks for a centre back to give away. That is phenomenal. He's yet to lose an aerial battle. The man, again, is a natural born leader, and he's only 22, so he's yet to even get anywhere close to his prime. And Dan Burn and or Matt Target at left back, they've been solid. But again, it's all new acquisitions, and none of them have championship level quality. So that's always been we've had a championship level quality backline for a good number of years. Now we've certainly got a Premier League quality backline, and it shows in some of the numbers.
Is it a quality thing, or is it a coaching thing, or is it a bit of column A and a bit of column B?
Definitely a bit of both, because all those naysayers who said that Eddie Howe can't manage a team that defends, well, that's clearly wrong.
That was loud. That was really loud when sort of in that sort of week leading up to him signing, and then after he actually officially signed. That was probably the biggest knock on him, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He was always known for attacking style football, but couldn't defend. But to be honest, that's been Newcastle's style since the early Keegan days. You score 2, we score 3 mentality type thing. So that didn't necessarily bother us as a fan base, because it's just what we've had previously. But the fact that we are now such a cohesive unit across that back line, across the 5 of them, so keeper included with that, it is such a good feeling to know that when these balls come over the top, when a cross comes in, that, you know what, this might actually get cleared, rather than getting smashed into the top corner from 25 yards out, because we can't be asked to chase it down, and we're going to sit on the edge of the box for 85 minutes. It's such a, again, I mentioned this word, breath of fresh air. And the key component of that is Kieran Trippier, because that man is such a natural leader. It's unreal. He is absolutely phenomenal, but not forgetting the other ones in there as well.
All right, finish this sentence for me. This is the best Newcastle United defense since
I've ever seen.
Since you've been alive?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Purely on the basis, we've had good defenders, but we've never really had a good defense, if that makes sense. So we've had good individuals. So the likes of Colaccini, Woodgate, going back to the Keegan days, you had the likes of Peacock and Philippe Albert, Beresford and all that. They were all good individual players, but they were never such a cohesive unit like what we've got now. They weren't a good defense. And now this is just, it's a different ball game that we are literally playing now. We are playing out from the back because we've got confident defenders on the ball. It's coming through them. And we're defending as an entire unit, which is, again, absolutely fantastic. But yeah, this is easily the best defense I've ever seen. And that is one hell of a bold claim, but I imagine there's quite a lot of people out there thinking the same. I'm 37 years old, so if anybody else who's older than me thinks we've had a better defense, let us know in the comments. More than happy to have that argument / discussion with you.
In the last 37 years, you can't be a 60-year-old and then claim, because this is the question was since you've seen. So don't come in and say, I remember back in the 70s we didn't see that. All right, so you can't you can't pin that on us. So
in my life,
for what it's worth, I agree. So, and I based it on during our most successful time. I think most of us would agree the Keegan era in our lifetime anyway, Craig, I'm also 37, was probably our most successful time at the club. And the motto was generally, if you score 4, we'll score 5.
Yeah.
So, and they're called the entertainers. The name sort of lived up for itself. Like, that was the whole philosophy. Now it seems like the philosophy is you aren't going to score. So, I mean, that
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that lends itself to, that's part of the reason why I think so as well. And I agree. We've had a good defender. We might have 2 good defenders out of 4, but I don't think we've had the 4 and the keeper as well of what we've got now. Given it is a small sample size, but I don't think if, and all the stats and all the metrics and the data they use these days, it all, like, it doesn't lie. Like, all our numbers suggest that we deserve to be where we are. We're not a plucky team. We're not lucky. We are where we're meant to be at the moment. I think
100%.
that's the most pleasing thing. And what it looks like is it's sustainable. It's not a sort of Steve Bruce, all the numbers suggest you should be nowhere near where you are, and this isn't going to last. Like, you've been lucky, and it isn't going to last, and it didn't. That's what we. But all the stats and all the metrics suggest that we are where we're meant to be. So I'll just bring up the stats from this morning, last night, wherever you're watching. What, apart from the shots and stuff like that, what did you make of the stats?
The possession, to be honest, 50-50, I thought we would have edged that, not comfortably, but we would have been a bit higher than what that says. The shots, yeah, easy. I think I know we had quite a few shots wide, obviously, and that just proves that there. But I thought we actually had more shots on target than 4. Because if you think about it, Miggy's goal is obviously one of them, then just another 3 shots, which I can't really remember too many of them. But it did feel like we had more than 4 corners. And this is getting strange because we've got the height in the box from Byrne, Botman, Wilson's not exactly short. Bruno, Big Joe, he's got a bit of a leap on him. Why are we taking so many short corners? I mean, it's obviously working.
Yeah, I don't think the ball still ends up in the box. It's not like they play short and try and dribble it in. It's just a bit of a variation, I think, to try and get the defense to move and instead of just a normal put it down, kick it in, and we'll see what happens. The more confusion you can throw amongst the defenders, I think the better. Like, get them out of their comfort zone and don't let them just sit and plot, and let's all just wait for this ball to get swung in, and it's a genuine 50-50 of who's going to get their head on it. I think they still get the ball in, but I think there's a little bit more, what's the word, sort of randomness about it where they can't just be set. And given their corner stuff for the start of the year and the numbers around that, I'm all for trying different things and stuff like that. I mean, we have scored a few lately, so you can't complain.
Do you not find it a little bit strange that we're not scoring many headed goals given the height in the squad as well, though?
I do a bit, but
I don't care how the goals are scored, as long as they go in. But I think utilising that height could be something that we're just not putting the set piece to,
Yeah, but I mean, like, Dan Burns going to duck underneath the crossbar, but if you actually just watch him, he gets held and scragged. Like, he can't actually get up and get a header. Like, I don't think for someone his height, he's definitely not known for his heading. And I think that's not just since he come to us. I think that's been nearly his whole career, especially at Brighton. They were sort of saying the same thing. But yeah, it's really hard in real time because you're watching a lot of different things at a corner. But every now and then, just watch the attention Dan Burn gets just before that ball comes in. Like, he's scragging. Mm-hmm. A lot of times he's the blocker as well. Like, he blocks on for someone else to try and get someone else free, or he's the one who's standing in front of the keeper being in minutes. So
yeah,
maybe that's his role. Maybe they know he can't do it. So, right, you're the biggest bloke. You can cause the most mayhem in there. And we know that we're not passing it to you. But just get in there and be a pest and a pain in the ass for everyone else. And you might be the diversion that we need.
Maybe. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
keep an eye
I
on
don't
it
know.
moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, those stats, apart from the possession, painted the entire picture of the game, to be honest.
Yeah. It's just, I just can't believe that they think that's their best 11 and they've come up and we haven't got out of second gear rightly, if it's on purpose or we just sort of played what they give us and they haven't actually made Nick Pope make a save. Like, it's a bit frightening, but fair play. I don't give a shit
If I
about
was an
Everton.
Everton fan, I'd be really worried right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Really worried because
Yeah.
they're hovering just above the relegation zone, as we'll say in just a sec. And there's a good number of teams hovering around that position, and it's still very early doors, but have no shots on target in 2 games. He scored the least amount of goals, second least amount of goals in the league. It's got to be worrying being an Everton fan right now, and they're in a very similar situation to what they were towards the back end of last season. But that's their problem, not ours.
No,
Thank God.
I'm quite happy for them to be down there.
Mhm.
Man of the match. Who was your man of the match this morning?
Purely for his goal, Miggy.
Yeah.
It was the only
And-
real bit of brilliance apart from one passage of play in the entire game.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought Bruno. Oh, I think Miggy as well. I thought Bruno played a good game and he was really good, sort of in that middle third, sort of trying to get us forward and stuff like that. But like we said earlier, he did misplace a few passes and stuff like that. But yeah, I think Miggy gets the chocolates again, which is crazy. He's probably had four or five man of the matches already
Yeah.
this year. Like, who would have thought that? And I think the fact that we are getting actually we might bring the table up now. I think the fact we are where we are without arguably our two of our 3 attacking players. I mean, Isak and ASM would probably be our 2 starting wingers, I reckon, if Wilson's fit as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've had a pretty good start for 11 games.
Yeah, if you look at what the top 6, top 7, we are the only team in that top 15 that haven't lost a game in the last 5.
Yeah.
How bonkers is that?
Yeah. And even the game we should have won, or the game we did lose, we
Yeah.
shouldn't have lost that. Like, let's call a spade a spade. So, like, we deserve to be where we are. Now, if can we do that? I mean, why? I sort of thought we'd finish 7th. I thought eighth. Sorry, I thought West Ham they finished 7th and probably strengthened over the summer as well. But I think there was Brighton, Wolves, Leicester. They were all ahead of us last year, and I thought we'd clearly be better than them. I didn't envisage sort of Wolves and Leicester being where they are and how they've gone for the start of the year. But Brighton, you always know Brighton are going to be a half decent side. But I still thought we had enough to be better than them. So that's how I sort of landed in 8th. But I mean, looking at it now, there's no reason why we can't be 7th come the end of the year.
No, totally agree. I mean, even 6, to be honest, isn't beyond the realms of possibility. Yes, it would be a hard slog to get there ahead of probably Man United or Chelsea, because I can't see either of them to get in Champions League. I think Liverpool will creep up that table slowly but surely, unfortunately. But 6 is definitely something that is attainable right now, purely based on these first 11 games. I mean, we're a point off it now. Yes, some of the teams have got a game in hand against us, but it's definitely something that we can work towards and something that we can aim for after January. See who, if anybody, we bring in to strengthen the squad.
Yeah. So, like, just looking at that sort of top, what have we got? A top 15. I mean, we've played we've played a lot of these sides already. Like City, we're going to play Tottenham on the weekend. Man United, Liverpool, Brighton, Brentford, Palace, Bournemouth, Fulham, and Everton. Like we've played all these already. So I mean, you're still going to play everyone twice. Like it doesn't matter. But I think our form against what's sort of look like the sides that are going to be okay as the table starts taking shape. It's been pretty good.
It has. The one thing I'm liking about it as well, if we are comfortable in the league and we are comfortable in the league right now, it means we can have a proper go at the cups, the FA Cup and the League Cup.
Yeah.
Which to me, that's the thing that gets me excited this season, having to proper go to those.
So I think we got 4 games before the World Cup.
We've got
4 league games. Yeah,
4 league games plus the FA Cup game. Oh, sorry, the league game.
The League Cup. Yeah, so 4 games. If we can be thereabouts 6th and 7th around the World Cup break, and then I think we come back, we might have 3 or 4 games before the transfer window opens again.
We've got, I think it's Southampton and Leicester when we get back, and then it's Leeds on New Year's Day.
Yeah. So, do you think if we're around that mark, they'll actually maybe spend a little bit more than they thought they were going to at the start of the year, given Europe is a distinct possibility?
I do, because I think they already know who the new shirt sponsors are going to be, and I think they know they've got a big lucrative deal coming our way, so they can flex their financial muscle a little bit more. I don't think it's going to be the 100 million that we spent last winter transfer window. But if we can get a few players in, Maddison being the big player that's been talked about since early summer. And then if we can get maybe a right back in, I think a right back would be needed because we've only really got Trippier and Manquillo. Manquillo wasn't even named in the squad today. With Kraft being out for the rest of the season, maybe get a right back on loan and put all our eggs in one basket for Maddison.
Yeah,
could be really doable.
I think the right back loan option's definitely a live one because we don't need to buy one. Like it's only going to be for 6 months until Kraft gets back. Manquillo will be off. If he's not off in January, he'll be off at the end of the season anyway. So that there's no point spending money on a third right back when we don't need one. So
no, absolutely,
yeah. Hopefully, they can sort of. I'm not really bothered about big money signings, just smart signings who can improve us generally. Now, if that's improve us by coming off the bench and strengthening our bench to give us more squad rotation during the games, that's fine. If they want to go and lash 50 million on Maddison, I'm also happy to do that as well. It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to be complaining about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, and I'm with you. I said this in our group chat last week or over the weekend. If they lash in January, they've already got this shirt sponsor sorted because they know they're going to have that money, so they can spend it knowing what's okay. We're going to have this in as well. And I did read some things during the week about. I have been in contact with Car Store regarding the kit supply deal and stuff like that. So no doubt they'll be trying to figure out a way if they can get out of it. And hopefully you're right. We'll move forward. Fast forward. We'll just speak about Spurs for a little bit. I know we sort of want to bask in the winning sunshine a little bit longer, but given, like I said, the World Cup and things are going to be sort of jammed and crammed, so we'll just touch on Spurs quickly. In I think 4 days, it's 2:30 kickoff Monday morning for me, 1:30 kickoff in the morning for you. I definitely won't be watching that game live.
Will be.
Yeah. Do you see us making any changes for that game?
Yes. I can see. Well, two players I will actually start who, if they didn't get booked, I would have had them on the bench or just rest altogether, and that's Shaw and Joelinton, because they're both on 4 yellow cards right now. So if they get booked, they're going to get that 1 game suspension, which would come against Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa are one of those teams where we can probably do without Joelinton and or Fabian Shaw because we've got cover in those positions. I'd hate for them to get booked against Aston Villa and then miss the Chelsea game because that's where we could probably do with those players there. So I'd have them two starting in, Eddie B and Eddie C, just 90th minute, you haven't got a yellow card, just nudge someone over, get that booking, get them out of the way. But I would bring in Anderson on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, maybe start Murphy over Almiron or Fraser over Almiron. Give him a little bit of a break. He looked totally knackered towards the end of the game today. So, and get him fresh for Villa. I can't see us getting much out of the game against Spurs. Last season we got absolutely trounced there 5-1. Yes, we took a 1-0 lead, and then they just absolutely dominated us after the second half. It's totally annihilated, which was an absolute shambles of defending. But we are again much more solid this year around. Could we get a result there? I'd love one, but I do think it'll be our second loss of the season.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Yeah, they have won every game at home this year. So 0 losses, 0 draws, all wins. So they are a very formidable team at their Hotspur Stadium. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, we say that every week, every game. I think that he's going to change this, and he never does. Like, so we've won. Well, we didn't win, but had a solid display at Old Trafford. Won against Everton. I think if no one needs to be changed, he won't change anyone. He will keep that winning team and stuff like that. We get a week's break after this game, so if they need another day or two recovery, then so be it. I think he's going to roll the dice, and I definitely don't subscribe to the argument where people say when they go, oh, he'll pick and choose sort of which games he's going to target. I think he's in to win every game. He doesn't care who they're playing. He's going to win, and he backs the team to win as well. So I don't think he sort of squad manages depending on the opposition. I think he'll pick a team who he thinks can beat the opposition, but he won't necessarily manage players depending. Oh, I don't think we're going to win. It's a free hit. Like, I don't think there's any free hits. Like, we're not shit. There's no free hits. There's no free hits. Like, every game he thinks we can win. So yeah, I don't buy the whole squad sort of change them out because, well, it doesn't really matter. We're not going to win anyway. Like, no. We're good and we can beat anyone. So there's none of that anymore.
I'd love to have that same level of positivity moving into the game on Monday morning. Spurs, they absolutely can be beaten. Man United proved that this morning as well. Beat them 2-0. And Spurs were apparently woeful in that game. I've only seen the last 20 minutes of it. So if that same Spurs team turns up, then, they could be there for the taking. Be over the moon with a point. I'd be ecstatic if we got 3 points, but I just can't see it happening, unfortunately.
No. Which is kind of funny. We're probably going to have the same team we played against Man United with. And a lot of people thought this was their best chance at actually going to Old Trafford and winning. Like, they've never really had that feeling of hope and optimism that, yeah, we can actually go in and knock them off.
Mm-hmm.
But we the same team, they don't have the same optimism going to Tottenham to do the same thing. It's just a really weird sort of mindset and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm of the fact that if we were confident we could go to Man United and win, why can't we be confident and go to Tottenham and win? Like, they've just rolled Tottenham. So I know Tottenham are away and stuff like that, but they're probably going to have a very similar team to what they played this morning. Like, I had a look at their lineup. It was a very strong lineup. So I can't see why we can't be confident we can get something out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it too early for a prediction?
No.
Is it never too early for a prediction?
So my heart says 1-1, but my head says 2-0 to Spurs.
All right.
So I'm going to go 2-0 Spurs, unfortunately. I very rarely predict us to lose, but I do think it's a case of this one.
I'm going to go 1-1. I'm the same at Man United. I'm going to stick with me guns and say, well, if we can get something against Man United, why can't we? Why not us?
Yeah.
Keep the undefeated run going and just carry on, get through to the World Cup, get ASM fit, get Isak fit, get John Joe fit, and to look at the
Reach for
second
the
half of
sky.
the year. Because as good as we've been, we've never had our best team together.
No, we haven't. And when that day comes, that team better watch out because we're going to annihilate them.
Yeah. Like,
I hope.
what, 5? Will we score 5?
Well, I'm not going to predict another 5-goal hole ever again. So not for a while anyway.
Yes. That's fantastic. All right. We'll wrap it up there, mate. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
No worries. Thank you.
Anyone, if you're watching, make sure you give us a thumbs up and a like button on YouTube. Leave a comment if you like. If you're listening to us on a podcast, give us a 5-star rating. That'd be fantastic. Not sure how it helps, but it definitely helps because everyone else says it does. So if everyone else says it, then we're going to say it too. Check us out. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Check us out on our socials. Leave a comment. We'll normally get back to you, or Craig will normally get back to you. We'll chip in with our 2 bobs if we think it's worth it. Once again, a few weeks ago, we had 1,000 subscribers. Thank you to everyone who watches and listens and stuff like that. We love what we do, and we're glad that you guys obviously like what we do as well. We're hopefully planning a few big things during the World Cup break as well. So stay tuned for all that. And yeah, we'll be back next week for a review of hopefully a positive result against Tottenham. Craig, thank you very much again for your time, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck with your new Eminem recording.
With Slim Craigie.
All right, Slim. I'll catch you later, mate.
See you later. Have a good one.